Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in the Flower City. You found us. It's a great day to talk sports with you. My name is Gene Battaglia. Our phone number 585-866-4326. You can reach us on X, our handle WGR Rochester. We're on YouTube and Twitch. Leave a comment there for all our viewers. Of course, we're on 95.7 FM, AM 950, and always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app. Great show we have lined up here today. As bottom of this hour, we will talk to Matt Perino, Matt Perino Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, as, hey, it's kind of difficult to assess what do we think the Bills did here. You hope for the best, you fear for the worst. Where is the answer here? That's what makes this kind of fun. We will talk to Matt Perino and see what he has to say about the Bills draft and what is ahead for this team is now. And I'll get to this in a little bit here. It might be the time to go shopping here. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard in the Shout Podcast, joining us bottom of this hour. One last conversation this season. Well, the season has just ended. Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, will join us coming off that best-of-3 loss to Toronto. You credit the team the way they fought, but in the end, this was just a team that was outmanned. I think we can all say that. This kind of happens in minor league sports. Today, the exit interviews for all the Amherst players occurring at the Blue Cross Arena, so everybody free to go to their off-season home. And we'll get the thoughts of Mike Leone. Honestly, I don't know if he's even staying in the area. Does he go up to Buffalo? Does he, just kind of soak it in? See, try to absorb anything you can observing? We'll talk to Mike Leone coming up here in hour number 2. Of course, we do have a Sabre playoff game tonight. And how refreshing is that? With a handshake game. Man, it's been so long since the Sabres had a handshake game. I don't even think we referred to it back in 2011 as a handshake game. It's crazy to think that in terms of a drought, the last time the Sabres actually won a playoff series was 19 years ago? 2007? Seriously. Like, that's how long it has been. So we'll talk we'll talk some Sabres here today as well, and certainly tomorrow, as this has just been a fun ride. And did it come at the expense of the Amerks? Yep, sure did. But Noah Oslin's making an impact up there, certainly. Although he's not in the lineup right now, Zach Metza, I think, a big reason why the Sabres were able to push for a divisional title. So a lot of pieces from Rochester helping out the big club, not to mention that, hey, a guy who might have a bright future as a top 6 forward potentially in Winnipeg, Isak Rosane getting dealt and getting you a Stanley, a big guy on the back end that can help you out. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. Terrible take Timmy in his radio clothes here today, as always. Smile for the camera there, Tim. He's barely looking. The fun part is usually we have just kind of a brief kind of meeting. A lot of this is shared online. This is, not that anybody cares about this. But the thing you don't know about today, Tim, we'll get to in the 2 o'clock hour.
I'm excited for this.
I am so excited. Gossip Sports Radio. Maybe I should audition for TMZ. What do you think? Like, enough of this Rochester sports talk. Let's just gossip all day. I'm kidding. We will, but I can't get enough of it. Something's wrong with me. Last year, it's not anything new. Like Belichick and the Child Bride. That's kind of where we were at. Always wanting updates. Can you believe this old man? This is a modern-day Lolita. And, this is kind of the 2026 tabloid version, if you will. We will get to that in the 2 o'clock hour. We had a managerial firing in baseball today. No, it wasn't the Mets. Although if you had to blame what's going on for the Mets, okay, I look at the guy who constructed this mess. My goodness. But Mendoza still as manager of the New York Mets. 585-866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue. From Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. The proverbial table is set. The NFL has so many weird rules. And they're rules made by design. Carefully. These silly rules meant to keep costs down. Example, void years. What is even a void year? Well, you want to pay that bonus. The owner's going to make sure that the owner gets his appropriate cut. He'll let you pay it right now, but he'll get his cut in 2 years. Like buy now, pay later. It's a credit card sort of thing. Again, it's a silly rule the NFL can make go away. Just pay the guy. Here's another dumb rule, okay, on many levels. The compensatory draft formula. I have yet to hear anybody explain how the NFL comes about, who gets what, a third, a fourth. Hey, you didn't get anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's not transparent. But it also serves another purpose for the owners. It slows down the second wave of free agency. Why sign a player prior to the draft if you think, although we don't know the formula, our projections say we might get a future fourth rounder here in 2027. And that's why a lot of teams, it kind of slows down. If I'm the union, I put a stop to this. Specifically for free agents. Like, I don't need more draft picks. I think it's actually beneficial for players who don't get drafted as opposed to the seventh round. Be like, yeah, you get to choose where you want to go, who might pay you and afford you that opportunity. But for free agents, that's why, number one on the list, why I would put a stop to the compensatory draft formula, because you're penalizing teams for signing too many free agents. Think about that. How does a union even allow that? Well, it benefits also the Brandon Beans and everybody else that want to go shopping right now. The more that time goes by, what often happens? Generally speaking, and you can find cases where this is not true, but generally speaking, value goes down as time goes along. So for a player like, say, Tre'Davious White. Like, Tre'Davious White, he was the heartbeat of that defense last year. It was a fantastic story. Like you saw in camp, or even you saw in week 3 against the Dolphins, like, oh, man, I don't know. This doesn't look quite right. And he started getting confidence, and if there's one athlete that I've ever observed that when he has it upstairs and he's feeling his mojo and he's dancing on the field and just being Trey White. Oh, hey, somebody's Polaroid photos of the opposing defense flew around the field in a windstorm in Buffalo. Remember White picking that up and the official took that away from him right away? That's Tre'Davious White. And he had that going last year. And he is covering his receiver like glue in the wild card round in Jacksonville. The Bills did not have a home game. They had to go to a division winner. And Tre'Davious White with Jacksonville with the ball with ample time, and Trevor Lawrence decides to throw in that direction. White, bang, deflects it up in the air. Bishop, ball game. That's a guy you want on the team. As long as he's fine with the, hey, maybe you're not a 16-week starter, and that I don't know. It's just because the improvement, as long as he's fine with that role. And that's the part I don't know here in my argument. I'm naming out the hole you could punch into my argument. But just let's just say, let's assume he wants to come back, and he's not asking for the sun, stars, and the moon above, right? To address the corner position. They did, because all right, Christian Benford on one side, Maxwell Hairston. But after that, with no Tre'Davious White, it's a little different, right? If the Bills took care of business with Tre'Davious White prior to the draft. And they didn't. And because of that, now it's a big glaring need. Because, well, I mean, do you really want to bring back Dane Jackson and all that? Davidson Igbinosun. I think we're going to end up calling him IGB. That's that's what was sprung on me yesterday by Nate Geary, who joined us yesterday in the sports bar. Oh, just IGB. Okay, IGB, the corner from Ohio State. And kind of mixed reviews on that pick for the Bills. Like, well, he's got the skills. He's got some size. Well, he got committed 2 years ago, the most penalties. Or whatever. Yeah, it seems like a work in progress. Not really tailor-made, ready to go. Poof, starting corner. It's an interesting selection by the Bills. But you don't spend a second-round pick for him to not make the team. You don't spend the round the Bills took. And again, nothing wrong with filling up at this position, right? But he seems more like a special teams gunner type of guy, and you have to account for that somewhere on the roster. So Tre'Davious White would be corner number 4 in a 5-man room? Does he want to come back? See, that's the BS thing about NFL rules. And now you have just lowered the value. You've devalued a veteran on this team. And it's a free market. Tre'Davious White could go anywhere, but this is not just the only case. There's lots of cases. Like if you look at the free agents from the Buffalo Bills from last season, is Matt Milano going to be on this team? Shaq Thompson? Thompson is like, I think he's kind of putting his hand up in the air saying, yeah, I'm ready. And he didn't, like, he wasn't signed this time last year anyways. When he came in, we were like, okay, they're bringing in another Carolina guy. Ho, ho, ho. And I was wrong on that. A lot of us were. The guy can play. Well, why is he still on the street at this point? Well, I think that's where, again, it comes back to the stupid rules of the NFL, the compensatory draft formula. Like, now you will see Brandon Beane in this next wave, and you got to get to 90 players who might be available. The other angle here is maybe I'm all wet on this. I'm all wrong. Like, it could be a totally different defense, and I want my own guys in there. And anything that was the McDermott, Babbage, you want to go all the way back to Frazier, fine. Yeah, it's time for a change. So these guys might be sitting out there for a long time and it may never get picked up. It could just be Jim Leonard wants a totally different look. And that's kind of my takeaway from the draft. What the Bills did in the draft isn't surprising. No one cares when you're right. We say this on the show all the time. And I was saying all along, the Bills will trade down. You look at that Denver playoff loss and you're doing the obituary on the Buffalo Bills last year. Okay, don't turn the damn ball over 4 times. That's number 1 on the list. But the depth was paper thin on this team. Injuries, costly. I don't know, wide receivers certainly. Not 1 but 2 guys with ACLs, and that's something we'll talk about with Matt Perino. I didn't expect the Bills to wait till round 4, but kind of like with Christian Benford, hey, it all worked out. Skylar Bell, yeah. It's all going to work out with Skylar Bell if he performs, because honestly, if the Bills took him in the second round, I would have been fine with that. But the way this kind of works is it's defense, offense, defense, a punter, and a guard. So that's how it kind of lays out. More heavy on defense. And this is the trend for Brandon Beane. It just is. He's going to default to that side of the ball. And honestly, I would have gone the other direction. Why? Because maybe Parker is good. Maybe IGB develops into a starter. A lot of people are high on Jalen Kilgore, the safety that went in round 5. That's great. Is that all going to happen this year? Because on the other side of the ball, I think the offense is really close. Meaning you get a healthy Josh Allen. You get Joe Brady, who can just loosen things up and do this the way you don't have to check off with anybody. You're the boss now. And you've got people who are bringing you ideas. It's refreshing, right? From that standpoint, I'm not knocking McDermott. I'm saying that This will give the offense kind of a little bit of new life. And quarterback, offensive line, running back, as a group, the tight ends. Check, 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 check. Wide receivers. What are we doing? Are we hoping that Josh Palmer is going to kind of pay off here in year 2? Are we hoping that Keon Coleman, and gosh, get ready for a lot of Keon Coleman redemption stories. He is going to be the one veteran everybody is going to be watching when cameras are allowed in, practices for mini camp, and the mandatory stuff, we're still weeks away on that. But yeah, that's I don't know if Skylar Bell, you plug him in and he's a top 3 receiver on this team. I can almost assure you that would be kind of a stretch. 585-866-4326 is our phone number to call. Quick baseball note. It seems like a crime to me. And this, I am speaking to Gen X baseball fan. I am speaking to you, the Gen X Yankees fan. Prior to the World Championships, there was a time, and it was entertaining, but the Yankees just never could reach the playoffs. And then finally they did, post-strike. And Don Mattingly and the Yankees lost that wild series to Seattle. But Don Mattingly is not in the Hall of Fame. Career cut short because of back injury. But to me, the 1980s, if you say who is the Yankee of that era, it's not Dave Winfield. Ron Guidry is more like the 70s. It's Mattingly. Mattingly is kind of one of those sports what-if questions. Like, if Don Mattingly was healthy, where does he end up? Well, he gets to the benchmarks, does he not? The Hall of Fame doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you were the greatest. That's what it should mean. He was the best, but because the longevity wasn't there, he ain't in. Okay, well, that kind of sucks, but I think we all can kind of get it if you're a Yankee fan. What I don't get is, not years, decades have passed. This is somebody who has a wealth of experience in coaching and managing. And we're not just talking about the crummy Marlins. He's the manager of the Dodgers. The Dodgers, pre-ownership, right? Big market, but a small budget. Hey, he was the bench coach for the Jays last year. And then he decides, hey, I'm going to go work. I've got family roots now in Philadelphia. Bringing up Mattingly today, if you haven't heard. He is the new interim manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. And this is not a surprise. That team is off to a 9-19 start. The Phillies, all of a sudden, does that offense look a little long in the tooth? It might. It might look a little top-heavy. Like, you have all these guys you've been hoping for years, like an Alec Boehm or whatever, but there's only so many times you can trot out the same lineup. So maybe the way the team is constructed, maybe it just takes a little while for the pitching to come around. Because honestly, I would take the Phillies starting pitching when it's okay. And that's why I think, all right, there's potential here for the Phillies to turn around their season. And Thompson's somebody who was there when they last got to the World Series. Hey, you're off to a slow start. It's a tough market. And now Don Mattingly is in pinstripes. No Yankee fan, you don't own the word pinstripes. He's in the red pinstripes of the Phillies home uniform. He gets the interim tag for the rest of the year. And I just find that a shame that he never went back. I suppose there's other things that are kind of weird, right? Like Larry Bird, when he left as the Celtics, I guess because Indiana was his home, right? He's the head coach. He's the GM. He's the team president. He's doing everything for the Pacers, but you never saw him take that role in Boston. Interesting enough, Mattingly from Indiana, but I just find it kind of really sad for Yankee fans. Like, that guy should be managing that team. And one reason he never got that opportunity is Joe Torre. Joe Torre, was there at the right time, was the right voice at the right time. Kind of like Marv Levy, right? You're around so often, and then it's all going to fall into place. And for Joe Torre, I'm not taking anything for Joe Torre away, by the way, by saying that, but timing's everything, right? And that timed out perfectly for him. But then Joe Girardi, Aaron Boone. Like, you're a Yankee fan right now. Would you rather have Don Mattingly or Aaron Boone? We'll get to our buddy Matt Perino. Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post Standard. We'll get his thoughts here on the Bills draft. We'll also talk to head coach Mike Leone. Our final conversation this season with the Emmerich head coach. Our phone number, 585-866-4326. Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Game 5 tonight for the Buffalo Sabres, a chance to advance to the second round. Buffalo up 3-1 on Boston. Alex Lyon getting the start in goal again tonight.
Once you start thinking about it in terms of just playing the game, winning, it's about winning and losing at the end of the day. And that's the only thing that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to help the Sabres win games to the best of my capacity, however it may look.
Pregame coverage begins at 6 o'clock tonight here on the Sports Leader. We'll talk to Amerks head coach Mike Leone. One last conversation with the coach that's coming up next hour. Rochester Red Wings open a series at home tonight against Worcester. The Philadelphia Phillies have fired manager Rob Thompson. Don Mattingly takes over as interim manager. The Phillies on the season at 9-19. Celtics hosting the Sixers tonight with a chance to close them out. That's one of 3 games Knicks taking on Atlanta. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
A long weekend for sure for Matt Perino and the rest of the Bills media. A long night that didn't result in anything, although Matt Perino's Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, always appreciate his time here on a Tuesday. Although, Matt, the Bills trading down and getting out of round 1 altogether, Matt, really shouldn't have come at any surprise to any Bills observer. Matt, how are you today?
I'm great, and, I don't think it should have come as a surprise. If anything, I think most of us were going into that draft expecting that outcome. I think the way that Bean navigated it was pretty impressive to deal back 3 times like that, add a bunch of picks, and go into a draft when you had 7 and come out of it with 10, and you land a guy at 35 in T.J. Parker, who a lot of draft experts thought, hey, if they make that pick at 26, I just had Dane Brugler from The Athletic on my podcast. It'll be out in a little while. And he said, if they make that pick at 26, I think that's a really good pick there. And they end up going back and getting him at 35. We can have our conversations about the prospect. We won't really know. I know the Bills. I had my reservations going into the draft about Parker, and a couple other guys specifically, only because of the track record with that similar style of player, that bigger, stiffer edge rusher. They bring in Bradley Chubb. I do think it's a new defense that they're going to be playing in. So I think you got to allow for, Jim Leonard to get his fingerprints on this defense a little bit. This is going to be one of the first test cases and see how it goes. So it was a really interesting way that the draft played out, though, for sure, over those 3 days.
Yeah, I Parker is all these are to be determined. Whether you like the pick or not, you really have to wait on judgment. But there's something to be said for when you take a player and what does this mean, and that's the next pick, in my opinion, Davison Igbinosun. Matt, does this put Maxwell Harrison on notice? We knew the Bills needed some help at corner, but to take a corner at pick 62 here, should we expect a competition here coming up at camp?
I mean, yes and no. I don't think it necessarily puts Harrison on notice, but I definitely think, hey, there's going to be a competition, and if you can't stay on the field, you're probably not going to be on the field when the season starts. And that's going to be something that, to watch for. I thought Harrison was solid in the games that he did play. He had a late start on things because he missed so much of training camp and that early part of the season. But, I think that Brandon Beane's logic behind the pick, whether or not the player ends up being a guy that could start for them long term, is sound. They didn't have a lot of great depth beyond those top 3 cornerbacks last year. And I think going into the year last year, remember what everybody was talking about when it came to Trey White. He ended up playing at a level at which I would say 90% of the fan base, the media folks, thought that he could reach. And so the Bills got really good return on what they invested in him last year. But it's a new scheme. It's a lot more stressful on cornerbacks. So I think adding up the options, and even Toriano Pride Jr., who they took in the 7th round, that's a really interesting pick. A guy that, they're bringing in. They have a good track record of day 3 corners to begin with. You think about Benford, Strong before the injury last year, and who knows, maybe Strong will be back and a part of this mix if everything clears with that neck. But there's no timetable on that. We don't even know where things stand. But I think prioritizing cornerback in this draft was something that I expected going into it. I just didn't know if they would pull the trigger that early, and they did.
Matt, if we can take a little detour, because and we'll get back to the draft, but you brought up Tre'Davious White, and you look at that position, and if I'm Trey White, I'm just doing all the pros and cons, and I'm assuming the Bills will want him back at a certain number, or maybe they don't. But if I'm Trey White, am I looking at this and saying, okay, what are my other options? Because that room now all of a sudden is very, very full, and maybe I won't get as much playing time here in Buffalo as I did in the past.
I think the circumstances are different, because if you think about last year when he decided to come back here, I know it was before the draft, and it was for the possibility of competing for a starting job, where I'm not ruling that out, but I would say that he probably doesn't, factor into at least the top two, and then you're throwing in another top 60 pick into the mix with Igbinosun, and it gets really complicated. I think he's going to want more money than he had a year ago. I mean, he's been posting clips on his social media, and he's not been very active over the last couple of years of all of the metrics for how he played last year, the video cut-ups. I mean, go back to that Jacksonville Jaguars playoff game.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that in a league that is desperate to find starting quality cornerbacks that you can't, sell yourself on a Trey White 1 year, $8 or $10 million deal somewhere? I think you could probably get that. So I think the likelihood of him landing back in Buffalo, despite the fact that everybody here loves him, and from my perspective, I love if he was back. He was great in the locker room. He was voted the Bills Media Good Guy Award winner last year, the Ken Hall Award recipient. So I would love to have him back. I just don't know if he necessarily fits into the plan.
Yeah, Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard. And Matt, I think a lot of Bills fans, observers, like, all right, you get to the end of day number 2, and oh my gosh, the Bills haven't addressed the wide receiver position. But in the end, I think it all works out okay, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Skylar Bell, the 4th-round pick out of Connecticut?
Well, it probably has to start with my thoughts on Keon Coleman, because I think collectively we've probably pulled the plug on the Keon Coleman experiment prematurely, even going back to last year. And I know a lot of people have been talking about, if this isn't all just an off-season PR campaign to drive up Keon's trade value. And who knows, maybe what Brandon said on WGR yesterday about teams calling him was, another way to, pump the tires on Keon Coleman's brand. But I do still think there is room for him to find a meaningful role in this offense. He is a version of a receiver that doesn't currently exist in this offense. And, you add Skylar Bell into the mix, he is another different version, almost a more similar style of player to Khalil Shakir. And you start to think about, all right, is there a world where Keon Coleman can be the number 2 wide receiver on this team this season opposite DJ Moore? Yeah, I can see that happening with Shakir in the slot. Or maybe they want to get Shakir on the outside a little bit more, move him around, maybe not put as much on his plate, and then now you have the opportunity to move Keon into the slot a little bit more. So I think the Bell draft pick is a potential gem of a pick. This is a guy that has big-time college football production. He's going to come in here. He's got some speed. He ran a 4.4. He has got the ability to make plays at all 3 levels. He's not necessarily a burner, but he's got some deep ball production on his college tape. And so I think you are excited about that player and that addition. But even Shakir, who is about as good of a prospect as you see at any position in the Brandon Beane era, wasn't really a huge factor early on. So that's one thing that, will things be different under Joe Brady? Because historically under Sean McDermott, it's taken most rookies a while to, especially day 3 picks, outside of like the special cases like Christian Benford and some other guys, to make an impact early on.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember being at camp and we had Shakir with us, and there were some questions if he even make the team, Matt. And it seems crazy now, but you didn't see it year 1, or you didn't see enough. He ends up turning it around. And to follow up on Coleman, I don't know if he's heading down that same path or not, but is he, in terms of all the returnees, he's like the top story here, is he not?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Keon Coleman, any headline that we write about him pretty much goes crazy. Any podcast that we do talking about where he stands, I mean, that is the biggest story because that was the top draft pick the Bills used in the draft a couple of years ago, and in a position where people have been waiting for Brandon Beane to pull the trigger on that position in the draft. He hasn't really, except for Keon. So, yeah, I think it's a huge story. I think that there's a lot of upside into what he could still do. I mean, some of the off-season clips that you've seen floating around, him now working with Stevie Johnson, I think is really cool. And sometimes, I thought things looked a lot different for Keon inside the building once Brandon Cook showed up last year. I think I mentioned this on your show before. I thought he needed kind of like Josh Allen early in his career. Remember, we used to talk about this. Like, things were different when Derek Anderson showed up and was around. Before that, it was young quarterbacks like Aiden McCarron and Nate Peterman. He needed an adult in the room.
Well, and
offseason.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I told you, you were just kind of breaking up there a little bit, Matt. I think we're going to be okay here. What does it also mean to get a new position coach? Your thoughts on Drew Terrell here? Who I don't really know much about here, but that is certainly a big thing. And I don't know, you're drawing an analogy. Like, sometimes you get the professor or the teacher who can kind of break through to somebody, and I'm just wondering what that'll mean here, too. What do we know about Drew Terrell here, Matt?
We don't know a lot yet. We haven't had access to the position coaches yet. First access to that is usually in OTA. So that'll be a really cool story to tell once we get a chance to talk to him. But the one thing that I did note was Joe Brady, I think it was at the pre-draft press conference, talking about him and Drew Terrell and Pete Carmichael all sat down and came up with a plan for Keon this season. Like, there is attention to detail when it comes to figuring out how to make this thing work. And listen, football people are very there's an ego involved, right? And Joe Brady put his name on the Keon Coleman draft pick a couple of months ago, and I think they're going to want to do everything in their power to make this thing work. And let's not get it twisted. There's talent there. Like, this is a guy, even when he was a polarizing prospect, even the people that were maybe on the fence about what his perfect fit was going to be, didn't necessarily deny his athletic ability and his ability to make plays. And he's done that already in a couple of instances in the NFL. I mean, that Seattle game, the Baltimore Ravens game last season. There is upside here for this player. So I think they're all coming together, including Drew Terrell, to try to figure out the best way to make sure that they find it, they tap into it.
Matt Perino, New Shout podcast will be dropping soon. We'll tell you about that. Also, Syracuse Post-Standard, our guest here in the sports bar. Matt, as far as the other draft picks we haven't mentioned, perhaps from day 3 here, did any of them start? You mentioned Pride there as a 7th-round pick we'll be paying attention to. Anybody else that really caught your attention here?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Kilgore in the 5th round is, I think I saw a graphic floating around, and maybe I'm making this up because I've seen a million graphics floating around over the last couple of days, but he's one of the most bang-for-your-buck draft picks in this draft. I saw he went in pick 60, where the Bills got Igbinosun in Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft before the draft. So, you think about a guy that was getting talked about as a 2nd-round pick. The Bills land him in the 5th, and you start thinking about, okay, A, the value, B, the fit. And the fit is super interesting because he played a lot of box safety, nickel, cornerback at South Carolina, super athletic. Like, early in his career, he entered a game for Nick Amanawari, actually. And the tape was a little bit all over the place when it to how he produced in that role. And a lot of evaluators think, okay, it wasn't great as a box safety, but we think he has the athletic skills to play post safety. And I think that, to me, is the ding, ding, ding of this Bills situation, because they have the box safety in Cole Bishop. That's what he does well. Getting at and around the line of scrimmage, getting matched up with tight ends and slot receivers, all those kinds of things, tackling in the box. But if they can find an athletic safety to play the deep part of the field, I think that's going to pay huge dividends. So I love the Jalen Kilgore pick in the 5th round.
And then one last one for you, Matt, here, because we kind of took that detour earlier talking about Tre'Davious White, and certainly that is a position I would think that you're going to bring in another veteran corner. You almost have to. Are there any positions coming out of this draft where you say, maybe the Bills need to go shopping here before we get to St. John Fisher?
Yeah, I still think linebacker could be on the docket. They go out and they add Caleb Elarms-Orr, who I think is really exciting. But to me, he's just probably a younger version of Dorian Williams in terms of, like, sure, he's going to compete. Sure, there's a chance that he gets some run at some point. But he probably in year one probably figures in more as a special teams contributor than somebody in the mix for true competition, Dorian Williams, more so Terrell Bernard. So you start to think about, like, okay, do they want to go back down the Shaq Thompson road? Is he willing to come in and compete? I know he was talking about, wanting to come back to Buffalo, but also mentioning that he wants to start. Well, it feels like their approach at linebacker this offseason is taking the stance that Terrell Bernard is going to get an opportunity to start at middle linebacker for them this year. So I don't know how much more work they'll do. I don't know how many more players that they'll bring in, but I think that the veteran signing that's probably that I'm expecting a little bit more than cornerback just because of how much work they did. I think they'll still bring in some corners at some point, maybe some undrafted free agent guys, some younger guys. I think they could go after a veteran linebacker.
Any interest in DJ Reader there or any other free agents that may be sitting out there? Anybody specifically like that, Matt, that has been rumored here?
Yeah, I've had interest in DJ Reader since 2021. I think every free agent preview article that I've put out over the last couple of years has probably included DJ Reader if he was a free agent. So I would love the fit. I like the player. Kind of coming off of a little bit of a down year. I do think that he might be coming to the end of the road there with the Giants potentially. Went on a couple of visits. But if that were to become something that was possible and he pops back up on the radar, yeah, I definitely think that's something that the Bills should look into.
So who bangs the drum for the Sabres tonight? I mean, like, I don't know. Like, you had Josh Allen. Like, and by the way, I thought he nailed it. Like, his comedic chops are great there, Matt.
Yeah, he brought the house down. One cool one would be, I can't take credit for this, but I think a family member of mine mentioned it, Brad May. Obviously a very historic player for the Sabres. You could play the Mayday call over the Jumbotron in the arena and then have him bang the drum. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Gosh, the whole town taken over. Western Europe taken over by Sabre Mania. You mentioned you have Dane Brugler. When can we go check out exactly what's the ETA on that pod dropping, Matt, and what can we go check out at the Syracuse Post-Standard?
Yeah, that's dropping, I would say, in the next hour or so. So you want to check out that over at all the different platforms. We have you covered from all the draft stuff over the last couple of days. That's up at the website. And we'll start to slowly move our way to rookie minicamp, which then opens up the off-season program. Before you know it, the schedule release will be here, and we'll be off to the races.
Yeah. Quiet time this week, but then next week for sure with rookie minicamp. Matt, always appreciate your time. Have a great week here.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, Matt Perino, joining us in the Sports Bar. We welcome your calls at 585-866-4326, 585-866-4326. Credit Brian writing in on WGR Rochester. And this is being reported by Bob Nightingale that we were talking about how Don Mattingly took over the Phillies. And I said, hey, that just doesn't feel right. Like, no, good for Mattingly, for sure. But, my gosh, he should at some point have been actually in the Bronx. Alex Cora was actually offered the Phillies job. He declined it. And I was thinking Alex Cora as a Mets manager. Now, that would be interesting too. But apparently Cora just wants to take a little time. And that's smart on his part. The Red Sox are going to have to pay him regardless this year. Why not take the whole summer? Just enjoy a summer for once. Maybe do a little television. And then when the next cycle comes around, you might have some picks. Although, as I say to everybody, you like baseball, make sure you get your fill of baseball because next year doesn't, from a labor standpoint, does not look too good. Your reactions to Matt Perino. We will certainly talk more Bills football. We'll talk a little Sabres. Yes, my favorite gossip story of all time has yet another new angle. And so we will get to that in hour number 2. Oh, and Amherst head coach Mike Leone will join us. Tim Schneider will have his terrible take of the day coming up next. My name is Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Yeah, if something is postponed, sometimes there's a good reason, other times, no, there's not a good reason. And I think this is the latter where Live Golf, this should be their actual kind of showcase. Meaning they have a tournament in New Orleans for late June. They had this scheduled to be on Fox with the lead-in being the World Cup. It was the opportunity for Live Golf to say, hey, you may not have seen this. You may not have been paying attention, but here we are stateside. And here's some golfers you know. Except none of this is going to happen. They have, finger quote, postponed the tournament in New Orleans that was to begin on June 25th. And it's funny how this is all kind of unraveling really, really fast. And New Orleans is actually, or should say the state of Louisiana is actually going to get a refund, which I think that's also kind of curious too. Like, why does the government have to pay a foreign entity to come in and host something? Maybe it was a security thing. I don't know. But Live Golf, another step closer to perhaps going away fully. Like this time next year, is Live Golf a thing? If it is, it's very, very minor league and completely off the radar. And good luck to paying all those contracts that you had actually committed to.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
I love it. So earlier today, you mentioned that the Phillies had fired Rob Thompson and brought in Don Mattingly as interim manager of the Phillies, and that is a big story in baseball. However, the biggest story in baseball we haven't mentioned yet, Travis Bazzana called up by the Cleveland Guardians today. The Yankees have been the class of the American League so far in the AL, and Cleveland, by making this move, has become possibly the second team in contention in the American League, as everybody else is kind of middling around 500. This move is going to boost Cleveland's chances in the American League and challenge the Yankees at the top of that league.
Wow. I mean, that's not even on the homepage of ESPN.com. You have to go to the baseball page, like prospect getting called up. Honestly, I'm happy for you and Guardian fans.
Should be fun.
But it's a long, long season. And I'm not qualified to say anything on, Cleveland's at 500. In that division, all right, can they string some wins together? Sure. Is Detroit invincible? No. But to suggest that that's a bigger story than, hey, Philadelphia at 9-19, like what the heck is wrong with the Phillies? What the heck is wrong with the Mets? The Guardians are 500. Who cares?
I don't think that the move that the Phillies made changes them, though. I think that they're still bad.
It does. It's a bigger story because if they just brought in Joe Smith, some fictional manager, this is Mattingly. This is somebody that, hey, never got a chance with New York, somebody with a bench coach in Toronto, and that was always kind of a straight, okay, he's leaving the Jays here, but to take another bench coach position where his son is running the show in the front office. Rob Thompson was a dead man. He was. Like if we don't get off to a good start, that guy's over your shoulder. We're bringing in Don Mattingly. Sure, they could say Rob Thompson was all in favor of this all along. Sure he was. Look, all these guys are getting paid, for sure. So baseball has so many. It's also another thing, too. Like, it's good that Cleveland gets their young star. Like, name me a team that doesn't have, like, the young star right now.
Every team has one, and they're all up. That draft class, he was the first pick in 2024, and that draft class is insane. A lot of people, Savage in Toronto was part of that, Connor Griffin, Kurtz, Caglione, there's a lot.
Yeah. Yankees continue their series in Houston. Everything is under lights tonight. The Mets are taking on the Nationals. Red Wings are home tonight, too. Rain has let up here, so you should be fine for the ball game if you had tickets tonight. We will talk to Amerks head coach Mike Leone. One last conversation. I'm going to ask him the hard conversation. Like, I can't ask him, like, point back, hey, are you back next year? But we're going to put that to him. Like, what kind of timeline? Like, do you know if you're going to be back? We will talk to Mike Leone coming up a little later here in the show. Time for your calls as well at 866-4326. My name is Gene Battaglia here, along with Tim Schneider and Dan DeLorean on WGR Rochester.
BEE HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports update.
Sabres can wrap this up in 5 with a win tonight. Up 3-1 on Boston. Beck Malenstein on the advantage of playing at home.
Throughout this year, we've slowly grown to see just how supportive and passionate this fan base is. I mean, I think we had 16, 17 sellouts to end the season. At home, the energy that's been here, building to the playoffs and now starting in the playoffs, it's truly been sensational. We love playing in front of the fans.
Pre-game coverage begins at 6 o'clock here tonight. And then Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call at 7:30. Rochester Red Wings open a series at home tonight against Worcester. Philadelphia Phillies firing manager Rob Thompson. The Phillies off to a 9-19 start. Don Mattingly taking over as interim manager. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master stroke. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much harder than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres! Bills! Americans! Red Wings and Nighthawks! Sports bar! For Rochester Sports Talk.
Hour number 2, you found us. Thanks for joining us. Gene Battaglia with you here on Rochester Sports Leader. We will talk to the Amherst head coach, Mike Leone, one last wrap-up. I guess he's doing or he did. Everything is kind of wrapped up from my understanding. The exit interviews, that's typical when you leave a job, and it's typical after a season that you're just kind of decompress, and you're going to set kind of standards of what players need to work on going into the off season and what to look forward to. And, you want to try to end things on a, it's not a positive when you lose in the playoffs, but you want guys feeling good about, the summer ahead. How does that work for a head coach? Like, we'll talk to Mike Leone here. Like, does he have to exit interview with somebody? I'm sure at some point. Your calls, 866-4326. We'll get to the latest twist in our favorite gossip story here of the year. And just passing this along, because we always like to, pass along little NFL tidbits. Schefter is reporting, and this escalated kind of quickly. So the story was that, hey, Diego Pavia, he became the first Heisman finalist to be draft eligible since 2013. It was Lynch back then, and not get drafted. And NFL talent evaluators kind of know, like, you can be a great player and be nominated for the Heisman, but are you going to be a great pro? And you just look at Diego Pavia, it's like, that doesn't look like an NFL frame. Hey, no knock against him, but then I don't like the way he carried himself at the Heisman, whatever. The story was that the Ravens were going to invite him to rookie minicamp, and he'll be allowed to try out. Well, never even got to the tryout portion. He gets a 3-year deal from Baltimore, which I would imagine is just kind of for the minimum at this point. But for Diego Pavia to be a Baltimore Raven, okay, that's great, and maybe he can try to earn a spot there on the practice squad, maybe even third string. But I think I'm not only ready for NFL football, I'm ready for college football too. We're kind of ready. Like, draft is over, and we're enjoying the Sabre run. Maybe it's because my baseball team sucks. That maybe that's it. Just kind of like I'm shelving everything there. 866-4326 is our phone number. And the thing about the internet is this: there are receipts everywhere. There's a tweet for everything, as they like to say, right? There's photos you can imagine. But I don't think we've ever had anything like this. Now, I'm certainly familiar with Spotify. They're a competitor, right? You can kind of make your own playlist there. Turns out, Diana Rossini, who I'm sure is absolutely thrilled to see that she's, somehow in the news again today. So every day brings us kind of a new storyline when it comes to this couple, and I think I can call them a couple, right? Where to kind of review 3 weeks ago, hey, that's weird. Why is an NFL lead reporter hanging out in a hot tub with an NFL head coach? Oh, there were friends there. You don't understand. Defiant. Okay. That's rule number 1. Don't lie, because the public can smell a lie. And when they smell a lie, they want blood. And it's funny how, like, we want truth on this. We want truth. And this is really, as we call in our business, become like the story for serial content, because it's like there's all these breadcrumbs that would, kind of point to, and it will almost predictably, the Post and others were waiting until draft weekend, meaning, hey, we get to draft day, but the hours before draft day, there is a lull. That's the time if you want to drop a story, and did they drop the story? Here are more pictures from 2020. And then TMZ, here's more pictures from a casino in 2022. Boom. Or 3 or whatever it was. Point is that there's been this going on. And then you get to Vrabel saying, I'm going to step away for counseling on Saturday. Apparently counseling lasted just one Saturday, which is
perfect time for it.
Perfect time for it. Like, hey, I don't want to talk to anyone. No, counseling. Stiff arm. He was back to work Monday. Okay, well, that's his choice. He's a grown man. It's his personal life. But that's not going to stop the public appetite for this. And not only do you get like the TMZs of the world reporting on this, but I love in this day and age, it's a version of vigilante justice. You can just get citizen journalism, right? Rossini made a Spotify playlist called Turning the Page, and she shared it with a user that just had the name Mike. This was from December 19th, 2022. And in this Spotify playlist, I don't know, like it's all over the place. There's so much to this. Number 1, like you hear about if there was anything from day number 1, and I go back to all the PR missteps here. Like Diana Rossini actually hired a PR specialist for crisis management. Okay, here's one thing too. Scrub everything. Well, you didn't scrub this. But it wasn't meant for Mike Vrabel. It was meant for my cousin Mike. Doesn't matter. Get rid of that. You can make another Spotify playlist. In other words, if you want to be on Spotify, don't be Diana Rossini. How about that? Just be anonymous, somebody. That's number 1. Number 2, Tim, doesn't this seem like this is something that you would do as a love-crazed 19-year-old?
It sure does.
Like, I'm going to make you a playlist. Like, are you kidding me? That was Cusack in High Fidelity. I'm going to make you a tape. I'm, like, going to make you, you're going to think of, are you kidding? Like, honestly, like, seriously?
Everything that they did in that moment, fine. Holding it for 6 years, having it all come out together with every single receipt possible, Easter eggs and clues. It's awesome. I can't get enough of it.
Okay, so can you admit you have come over to my side?
I am all the way.
Like,
I might be further on it now.
Like, this is not
3 weeks
news.
ago, didn't really care at all. It was like, oh, whatever. It's just two adults doing things and getting caught. Now, with all the juicy stories and everything coming with it, and it's a new day and a new seed, everything is phenomenal to me. I cannot get enough. I wake up wondering what I'm going to see next in the Rossini files.
So, well, that's not true. Because we came into the show, and I let off the show with today, and I saw Dan. I'm like, Dan and I are nodding, like, yes, show rundown. And this is coming up at, Tim, I don't know the latest. How do not know the latest? There's even more, Tim. There's more. So this is Mike Vrabel not understanding he has now stepped over the protection of the NFL media. And the NFL controls their messaging, right? Except when you go outside the borders of the NFL community, now you're fair game. So I don't know what counseling session was in Salt Lake City, but that's where Mike Vrabel was on Saturday. Mike Vrabel on Saturday. And I don't know if these photos are from, I think they're from like the airport. So you go into the airport, like the airport, those are some of the saddest shops ever, right? You go into the airport gift shop, like that's oh crap, we're supposed to bring back something. Damn it. And everything is marked up, and it's like, all right, I've got to get a T-shirt that just says Nashville or a coffee cup that says Chicago. I was thinking of you, hon. Here you go. Nothing says I wasn't thinking of you. Like, oh, crap, I ran out of time. The hotel or the airport gift shop. That's what this looks like. And there's Vrabel sizing up these, like, nightgowns sort of. And then some airports have nicer shops because, well, they know you're killing time here. Oh yeah, you got to go buy something. Like that's going to make a difference there for Mrs. V. Unless Mrs. V knew about all this. And that's what I feel sorry about because you just Google any of this, like who is Diana Rossini's husband? Who is Mrs. Vrabel? Innocent people are getting dragged into this. That's the problem. And this is the part of the story I haven't come around yet on. Maybe you can convince me or maybe you agree with me on this. I think we'll get to a point in the NFL season where there will be something related to the Patriots actually on the field, and it'll be an exciting win, or how could you blow that game? Or, my gosh, this injury. It's called the NFL news cycle. The one thing that is hot one week is almost forgotten about the next week. So once we get into the rhythm of the NFL season, are we going to care about any of this necessarily? And you have people, and this is the part, people are saying that, I don't believe this. People are suggesting that Mike Vrabel won't survive this. That Mike Vrabel, this will cost him his job. The only scenario I could see that happening, and he doesn't seem like the guy that would do this, right? I need to go get I really need to check into counseling, and it's not one day, right? I have a problem, or I am leaving public life to save my family. I would ask anybody who has done that. I'm leaving public life to save my marriage and my family. That's the only scenario I could see him. It would have to be Vrabel, but people are suggesting that, how can the players trust him? How could anything? This is going to creep over. And, yeah, it's a big old distraction, but I think by the time we get to whatever, we will have moved on from this juicy little gossipy story.
Yeah, I think that was my take on Friday, is that he's done coaching. But if he does stick around, I think the only thing that saves him or distracts people from this season long, like every road arena is going to give him hell, and they should. And I think the only thing that kind of distracts the fans from that is a devastating injury to Drake May or something like that makes the season over for the Patriots, and it kind of folds over this gossipy story. It becomes a field story. And I don't know if that is going. Well, I hope it doesn't happen for Drake May, but I think the only thing that fans care about right now is Vrabel looking like an ass.
Yeah, I keep coming back to if two people had an affair, what does it even matter in the end? The answer is it shouldn't. It does not matter. They're two people with public profiles who lied to you. They lied, and now they have become the butt of every single joke. I sent you the one last night. Like, oh my God, this day and age of AI, somebody put the two of them on the Jerry Springer stage.
It was you are the father and Maury, not Jerry Springer, but same thing.
Oh my gosh, how can I mix up? I'm mixing up my 90s. Wait a second, it wasn't Springer. It was Maury.
No, it was Maury. Yeah, you are the father. His running.
Okay, so so Jerry Springer was always. I don't think Jerry Springer's with us.
He's
Maybe
not.
Is Maury still with us?
Yes.
Okay, Maury's still with us. Jerry Springer was always the one where, okay, like you just have all this bad behavior, and then the final thought. And the final thought was always the same thing. Today we witnessed some things about human nature that weren't so great. But are these people any different than you and me? Be good to one another. I'm Jerry Springer. What was the sign up? Was that it? Be good to each other. Something like that, where he's going to inspire at the end. Like, it put him right at the end. Final thought.
I used to skip college classes to watch Jerry Springer with my roommate. So
Yeah.
the
that would
glory
be it.
days.
Yeah. And then Maury, you're right. So thank you for correcting me on that. Maury had that was the one bit he
Yeah,
had.
the DNA test
The
and
DNA.
it was you are the father or you are not the father, and for this bit,
people that says we have devolved, like de-evolution. By the way, Devo, the punk rock band, that's what it was short for. De-evolution. That was their whole thing.
ahead of their time.
I don't know. Have we like those were the shows we were watching 20 years ago and just eating it all up. And honestly, Maury Povich was this serious news man, and then he realized, oh, I can actually make more money kind of doing this. you had Jerry Springer, who was actually the mayor of Cincinnati. Got himself caught in an uncompromising position, but how do you go from mayor to conducting television like that? Now, who would be the sports version of that today, Tim? I think it's an easy one to answer. This sports version of that, sports columnist covering an NBA team, but realizing, okay, this isn't going to get me so far. And then he would go on Rome. You want to be angry about Stephen A. Smith? Rome was the guy who kind of sparked Stephen A. Smith and kind of pointed out, hey, yeah, there's a different way to kind of do this. Skip Bayless, same thing. Skip Bayless was, hey, I'm covering the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a serious newsman. And I like Stephen A. I can't stand Skip Bayless because I think Skip Bayless kind of cuts corners in his takes and where he is right now in the pantheon of takesmen kind of show that.
I'm right with you there, and I think that honestly, Diana Rossini is maybe running down this same path. She can,
this is going to be fascinating. Can she actually reinvent herself? Like, I always thought, here's a take. I always thought that Martha Stewart got a raw deal. Ooh, okay, she got some insider trading, but yet we treated her like this hardened criminal. Like, it was just because people didn't like her, and she went away. Now, she had to pay a price for that, right? There are rules, but she was able to reinvent herself. She lost everything, came back. Does Rossini really have that? It would have to be something out of this circle. That would be my suggestion for that. You're not going to get hired as an NFL insider, but can you do something different and rebound from that? I don't know. Like, it's going to make for a fascinating 30 for 30 sometime. And again, I feel sorry for Diana's hubby. Like, either he is like the biggest fool or the biggest cuck. I can't figure out which one. We will talk to Mike Leone, assuming he doesn't. After listening to this, he's not going to. Guys, I'm busy. I can't come on. Mike Leone, Amerks head coach. One last conversation this season. Time for your calls, your comments. You can hit us up on X at WGR Rochester. You can give us a call at 866-4326. My name is Gene Battaglia here at WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Sabres with a chance to wrap this up quick. Game 5 tonight. Buffalo up 3-1 on Boston. This is a home game tonight. Alex Lyon once again getting the start in goal.
Once you start thinking about it in terms of just playing the game, winning, it's about winning and losing at the end of the day. And that's the only thing that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to help the Sabres win games to the best of my capacity, however it may look.
Pre-game coverage begins at 6 o'clock. Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call at 7:30 tonight here on WGR Rochester. Rochester Red Wings, they open a series at home tonight against Worcester. Philadelphia Phillies have fired manager Rob Thompson. They're off to a 9-19 start. Don Mattingly taking over as interim manager. NBA, the Knicks play a pivotal Game 5 tonight against Atlanta. Series tied at 2. Celtics with a chance to close out the Sixers in Game 5. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Raising the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Oh, we've got an answer to the question, who's going to bang the drum tonight for the Buffalo Sabres? We welcome you back here. The Sabres just putting this out on social media. I like the suggestion from Matt Perino, who joined us last hour. Knowing the history of the Sabres and Bruins, could you get Brad May? Mayday, overtime. Well, it's not going to be Brad May. It's going to be these guys. The Blade Gang is going to be banging the drum tonight. And they're a lot of fun there, right? Everybody having a lot of fun. And hopefully you're going to catch the game tonight. Maybe you're lucky enough to go out. Joining us, sadly, one last time this season, but certainly we take a look back. Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans. And I guess, coaches, we're looking ahead to next year. I mean, can we get some sort of bang the drum sort of thing going for the Amherst to get the crowd? I just love the vibe out in Buffalo. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, thanks for the time. How did this morning go for you? I mean, is it a difficult time talking with players and sending them down today being exit day?
I mean, no, it's always difficult when you end the season, but a lot of good conversations, a lot of hard conversations. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think we pushed this group as far as we could push this group, and a lot of guys had career years that have never played in our league, and learned a lot this season. The ups and downs, the battles. It was a lot of adversity this year, but somehow we found a way to get in. And for me, it's probably the most proud I've been as a head coach of a team, because on paper we weren't supposed to be here. And we just played a team with 11 one-way contracts and pushed them to the brink, and I'm really proud of the team.
Yeah, one goal game there. You get one bounce. Who knows where that ends up? Now, do you head back home now, Mike, or are you spending some time in Buffalo, just learning what you can while playoff run is going? What is next for you here in these coming weeks?
Well, I'm going to skate the Black Aces that are going up. I asked, if I can go home and be with my family. I haven't seen my family since Christmas, so I was granted permission to go home, and then I'll get back closer to the weekend and start running skates there.
Yeah, well, that was on my list here. Who is getting the call up to be a Black Ace to help the Sabres in there?
Well, I think that's one thing I think you'll see. I'm not really going to get into details on the guys. I think that's there's probably players you think. There might be a couple guys that are in the right, but I'll hold off on giving the guys that are going.
Okay, Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, falling in the 3 games there. Just one last question on the Marlies, Coach. That game number 3, and we all listened to Don and Andrew and battling back there. Is there anything you can take away from that other than, hey, that was just a team that made an extra play? Your thoughts on the deciding game 3, Coach?
I mean, it was a tough game on the road. Their best players were their best players. I mean, you have I don't think you have 11 guys that are on one-way contracts in the NHL. You're talking about guys that their first line all played 200-300 games in the NHL. they were the better team. Like, we outworked in game 2. There was moments of the games we had chance, but the reality is that's just a really good team, and that's a team that could go as far as they want to take it. You look at the D core that they have. They had 3D that played 3 full seasons in the NHL. We played a really good hockey team, and I was proud of our group, really proud of our group to push them. And it was unfortunate. They were better in the game. They made a few more plays. Their best players were their best players. Their leaders were their best leaders, and hats off to them. It'll be a really good series against Laval.
Yeah, for sure. Coach, how are you personally? I mean, this was a stressful year, like all the call-ups and the injuries and everything else. Just how are you coming out of this experience here this season?
I'm good. I think we got a lot out of the group. We had my job as a coach is to coach the team that you have and figure out ways for us to be competitive. And there's a lot of other teams that had similar situations that were 12 to 15 games under 500, and we found a way to get in, and I'm really proud of that. We had 9 guys playing in our lineup at one point that were either on AHL deals or this was their first year in the American Hockey League. That's not easy to do, and I'm really proud of some of the guys, like the guys that we had here that are up in Buffalo that are having really good seasons and making a huge impact in the NHL. And we had guys on our team that had career years. Ryder Fiedler-Schultz had a career year. He had 22 goals. Kuntar had 21 goals, was an unbelievable player for us. And these guys were, probably slotted to be on our 4th line. And they rose to the occasion, and were part of the reason why we were able to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, Zach Jones, AHL Defenseman of the Year. I mean, there was some guys that had career years under your guidance. I would imagine, Mike, that just how you were doing exit interviews, you and your staff, your guys, that maybe you'll get an exit interview at some point for the season here. What are you looking to improve as a coach, you yourself? What are some areas that you're going to focus on here this offseason?
I'm in communication with management quite a bit. Given the second half of the year, I have direct contact with them. I know it was a good learning experience for me as a coach. Like I said, I was probably more proud of our staff and the coaching job that we've done that I've been as a coach. It's hard to say right now. It's 48 hours after the loss. I'll have to reevaluate in the summer and areas where we can be better as an organization, staff. A lot of different things. There's some things that went on, and but it for me is a really successful season.
Mike, what is your status? Are you good to come back? Do you want to come back? Is that a conversation that has yet to come with Jarmo, though?
Yeah. I'm not going to really get into the details. Yes. If that's what I will be back. Now it's just working through some things on. That's a kind of a personal question with management. I keep that respectfully between us, but yes, I will be back.
Okay, there we go. Your thoughts on your staff, and again, I got to ask the personal questions, but these are in the media, we're liaisons between us and the fans. Paige, Vinny Prospel, your thoughts on the job that they did working for you, and would you like to have them back next season, Coach?
Yes, for sure. They'll, I'll do I think if you look at what our coaching staff did this year, I'm extremely proud of what they've done. They've been a huge help. They've played the pro game for a while. They're great. With these things, I'm pushing hard for them. There's things that they have to figure out, management when the time permits itself of, who's going to run Rochester and things like that. There was a lot of difficult things this year that we found a way to manage it. And yes, but I'm going to push hard for those guys to be back.
Yeah. Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans. One last conversation this season as the Amherst season has wrapped up. And we're all conditioned to this here at this level. I mean, the roster is going to look different next year. It always looks different. That is always the case. And, Mike, not everything is under your control, certainly when it comes to that department, who's back and who might be coming in. But how much influence will you have in shaping the roster next season?
I can't say for how much influence. I think I have a lot of respect from the organization and management where I'm not going to be the only voice, but I think, trust is earned over time, and I respect management a lot, but I think, you're looking at a team that could look a lot different next year, I think, in a positive way. Like, a lot of our young kids have graduated. Some of them are close, and there's a lot of roster spots to fill of, there's no more 6-year window of, prospects, young kids and things like that. So it could look a lot different, but I think that could be very beneficial.
Yeah, when you're seeing players that we all know well here, like a Noah Ostlund, like how he's contributing in a playoff game there, Mike. I know the loss of the season ending is still stinging, but how much satisfaction do you take knowing that the ultimate goal is to develop guys and get them to promote, and those guys are actually helping Buffalo win games for you?
Yeah, I mean, look at the guys that have gone up, since I've been here. The Kozaks, the Dunner, those guys are impact players of NHL Stanley Cup lineup, and they earn everything. And I don't know if many people were saying that about Noah when he had 1 point in 10 games in the American Hockey League last year. I'm afraid Noah's, if not one of the best players I've ever coached. He's an unbelievable kid, competitor, and I'm not one bit surprised of what he's doing up there. And I'm really proud of him in the group of, the Dunners, the Metzas, those kids.
Yeah, Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, our guest here. As one player I thought that certainly showed flashes. I mean, you don't have a chance Sunday if it's not for Devin Levi. 35 saves, was the third star of the game. Mike, he's a professional, right? And he wants to be at the highest level. When we see in Buffalo what is happening, you have UPL and Lyon. They make a really good tandem up in Buffalo. What is your advice to a player like Levi where the path for him to kind of graduate just isn't really – it's not that clear right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how it is. It's professional sports. Like, it's not supposed to be easy. He had a difficult year at times. I think in moments he played his best hockey down the stretch. I think it was a great learning experience for him this year to go through what he went through, but you can only control – what you can control. I'm sure there's decisions that are going to have to be made, and the player could only control so what he can control. He can't control what everybody else is thinking. That's professional sports. People have to go through it, and it's not supposed to be easy. Everybody's path is different, and he just has to worry about his path. He will ultimately get there, but he's got to just focus on himself.
Are you going to at least get a chance now to just relax here and maybe watch some of your other favorite teams? I mean, I don't know if you paid any attention, but I don't know what the Detroit Pistons are doing here. They should be taking care of Orlando up to this point, Mike.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I'm shocked about that. I'm actually really shocked that you don't see that too many times in basketball where the 8 has a chance to be a 1. That's probably one sport more than any other sport where usually if you walk off the bus with more talent, you're going to win. That's that's a different type of sport, and it's wild. Hopefully they can figure it out.
This isn't going to be our last Amherst conversation, by the way, because coming in Thursday will be Don Stevens. We can't talk him coming back for one more year, can we here, Coach?
Whatever Donnie wants to do, I support. He's the best. I have an unbelievable relationship with him. I'm really close with him, and I think the world of him. And whatever he chooses to do in his life, I fully support. I'm really happy I got to be here with him for 2 years.
Well, listen, Mike, I appreciate you giving us some time. Busy day when you got to do the exit interviews. Just enjoy the spring and summer, and I don't want to wish time away, But, looking forward to seeing how things come together and having another season of Amherst hockey in October. Thank you for all your time and your insight this year, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Mike Leone joining us here on the show. So I want to make sure I heard that correctly because he wasn't going to answer the question, but then he did. Yes, he's back next year.
Yeah, it sounded like there were some caveats to that.
Right. So we've got to go back and because I pushed him a little bit on it. Well, he said it like if you're doing this in print, yes, I will be back next year. It was just the hesitation there to answer the question. It was almost like, should I actually say this? That's kind of my read on this. That he plans on being back, and they told him he'll be back, but I don't know if I can reveal that he'll be back.
Yeah, I think that was where he was going.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't want to announce it himself, but felt obligated to once he got into the conversation.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, look, you don't like the questions. Guess what? You go up to the NHL? Ha! I mean, I'm not throwing you all softballs here. These are questions people want to know. And I think the Levi conversation is a fair one. I think that you answered the question perfectly. It's like, hey, you do what you can do. Will Devin Levi get traded before next season? Will he actually be back? I don't think the Sabres are going to do anything different in goal. Maybe then again, I don't know what the offseason will bring. So for once, though, we're going to be really kind of paying close attention to how the Sabres navigate the offseason. What the draft, what July 1st free agency, what potential trades, what that all looks like, and how it affects your Rochester Americans. So I just wanted to thank Mike for all his time because this was a trying year for the Amherst. This was a year where, oh, my gosh, are they actually going to get in? And like you said, you're playing with guys that have never played at this level. So it was a patchwork roster that they made work, and ultimately it just was not as good as Toronto. And I don't think anybody can be upset about that. But you want to have a competitive Amherst team, you can't run that back next year. You just can't. Sure, would I like to see a player like Jagger Joshua or Riley Fiddler-Schultz? Yeah, of course. You want some guys back, but in this league, guys will also get opportunities kind of going elsewhere. It is the AHL, transient with a capital T, the personnel here. And right at the top of the list is like, okay, is it Devin Levi? Because if there's another organization in the NHL that says, we could use somebody really to goose up our competition to have a number 2 goalie, would Buffalo make this move? I think we're beyond we need to stockpile draft picks. Who cares about draft picks? Like the NFL, I think it actually matters because you actually need, for cost control, draft picks to make it work. In the NHL, draft picks take forever and a day to develop more often than not. So the Sabres, they have their core. Like, I'm not interested in a second-round pick for Devin Levi. Sorry. Like, I'd rather have him in Rochester next year. And then should something actually go wrong up in Buffalo, or maybe you have a guy. Maybe the story isn't written yet. We had Jeremy White on last week from WGR, who I think he's fantastic, he and Joe, the job they do. Asked him, like, okay, what's the view on Levi up in Buffalo? What do you think? The truth is, Gene, we don't think about him. Like, oh, okay. That answers that question. Last call is for you. Your reactions to that, and we'll tell you what's coming up on the show tomorrow with Tim Schneider and Dan Drumley. My name is Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
Sports talk in the Flower City. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
I don't know how you deal with things if you're a Pittsburgh fan right now. Yes, the Penguins won last night, and I think that would actually be kind of comical if they came all the way back and beat Philadelphia. But ultimately, they're doomed. Like, that team is not getting to the conference final, much less the cup final. But everything else in Pittsburgh, okay, the Pirates are sort of fun-ish, but they're not going to pay anybody. Which brings me to the team in the league that is balanced for everything. The NFL, as long as you run things correctly and you're hiring the right people, like, it's designed to help smaller markets win. Which, okay, Pittsburgh's not the smallest of markets. It's bigger than Buffalo, but you are a blue-chip franchise, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we get to, a couple more years here, 4 to be exact. You'll be 3, actually. 20 years since your last Super Bowl title? Come on. What are you doing? And there's this. Like, anybody who follows a sport knows you got to have a quarterback. And here are the Steelers playing this game with Aaron Rodgers once again. And it's almost like they are daring him to retire. Or they're daring some team to take him off his hands. I don't know what this is. But the Steelers, I always think tags are a hostile move. They placed the transition tag on Aaron Rodgers today. What the transition tag does is it gives the team the right match any offer he receives this offseason. So your insert team here, I don't even know. Arizona. Okay, you're ready to go with Carson Beck? Nah, let's bring in Aaron Rodgers with 1 year. Like, okay, well, that puts an end to that because the Steelers could match that. Or they could, just let him walk. What this does, too, is when we get to those slow times here in the NFL calendar, and we're not there yet. For the Bills, we have rookie minicamp coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. We will have the NFL schedule race, which will have a whole week to kind of debate. We will have mandatory minicamps and all that. If Rodgers does not sign this tag with another team by July 22nd or the first day of training camp, he will only be able to negotiate a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a fitting end to a career for Aaron Rodgers. Like, we're going to take away your ability here to talk to anybody else. I'm actually kind of stunned. And the tag, if you think, okay, it's going to be a lot of money, no, it's only going to be $15 million. Now, for a quarterback like the caliber Aaron Rodgers at this point, like, I wouldn't pay anything, but in terms of an NFL starting quarterback, what they're paid, that's actually quite cheap. So why will this year be any better than last year if you're a Steeler fan? Did you not watch that playoff game against Houston? Did you not watch the game against the Bills? They bludgeoned Aaron Rodgers. They hurt him. So, again, it brings me back to my original point. I don't know how you deal with this if you're a Pittsburgh fan right now for all of your teams. I'm sure there was a time like, oh, my gosh, the Sabres are in a drought. The Bills are in a drought. This is all cyclical. But for the Steelers, okay, they're coming up on 20 years. For the Pirates, you're past 40 years now. What are we doing? Tomorrow on the show, our favorite Baltimorean, who's probably very excited that it's official that can we get PJ Glasser to say Diego Pavia on the show tomorrow?
100%.
Yeah, Diego Pavia. PJ Glasser, who, I know, if you're new to the show, is this a ripoff of the Van Pelt bit? 100%. 100%. But it all happened very innocently. I have it on my phone here. I did save it. Like, where he said, Megan Rapinoe. I'm like, PJ, who's Megan Rapinoe? And the irony here is, hey, Gene here in Rochester, I'm the last person who should ever be pointing and laughing at somebody's accent. PJ Glasser will join us tomorrow, as will Paul Hamilton, the very busy Paul Hamilton, which you hear on many of the fine shows on WGR. Good friend of the show. We'll talk about Game 5. The Blade Gang banging the drum tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. Miss any of today's show. Very interesting conversation with Mike Leone. Says he's back as the Amherst head coach, so we'll do it all again with the Amherst coming up next season. Mike Leone was just on our show here about 20 minutes ago. Matt Perino in hour number 1 was great, too. You can go back and listen to the show 2 hours in full. Just download the Odyssey app. If 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time doesn't fit your schedule, well, that's the age we live in. We're on demand. Just download the Odyssey app, and the sports bar is right there for you under WGR Rochester. Dan DeLorean doing a fine job in the background for Tim Schneider. My name is Gene Battaglia. Buffalo Sabres hockey coming up tonight, 6 o'clock pregame. And it's Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call beginning at 7:30. Brian Colesy will use studio host. Joe and the Bulldog coming up next here on WGR Rochester.
So much action.